I'm gonna kick off the icebreaker while we're still waiting for people to trickle in. Since we are exiting one path and entering another, I guess I'm trying to find the nicest way to say, what are you leaving behind in 2024? Happily.
Oh, we're saying it right now?
Yeah, you can take a few minutes to think about it, but yeah.
Oh, you know what's funny? I was actually talking about this. Wasn't I talking about this one too? We were saying like kiss, keep it I say keep it simple, sweetie. My friend was like, keep it sexy, sweetie, or something like that. And no, keep it simple, sweetie. And he said keep it sexy and simple. So basically, I'm not gonna overanalyze, I'm not gonna overthink. I'm just gonna just nice, just not I'm not gonna be, sometimes we allow fears and stuff and overanalyze and we get in our own way. So, I could be guilty of that. So I'm just gonna, just go forth boldly with confidence and do what I know that God put me here to do. So yes.
I keep thinking, I was thinking of Star Trek, go boldly where no man has gone before, as you were talking. So that's great. Annette, I would leave behind resistance and fear. So I'm overlapping a little bit with Crystal, but resistance and fear, because sometimes things are there right before us and it's for us to claim it, to take it, to walk into it, to step into it. And fear holds us back. All those things in our minds just say, nope, you can't do this. And you step back instead of stepping forward.
Oh, jump on in, Daniel.
This is something I've been struggling with for a while now. Just the fear to call out, just to call people, right? Not wanting for people to call you, but just to initiate it.
Mhm.
You know, those really long friends you haven't talked to in a while, instead of waiting for them to call, just call them. Say, hey, I'm thinking about you. What's going on? How's the kids? How's the wife? Just, just leaving that behind, being more proactive about reaching out to friends and family.
Love that. I think I want to add that to everything I was gonna say, which is everything you guys said. Fear, the not connecting because of fear, or just being nervous about reconnecting. Yeah, just going boldly into 2025, very confident, very sure. That's what I'm going into because I'm leaving the rest behind. I'm super excited. I know we have a lot ahead of us in 2025, but I'm just super excited about life and whatever comes, I'm gonna be ready for it.
Love it.
I'm going to welcome everyone. And I'm gonna really thank you for your time joining us ending the year with this faith and friendship session. This is, of course, our virtual support group for those with chronic illness, people who are supporting those with chronic illness as caregivers or otherwise, family members. We are here to be that support, give encouragement. Doesn't matter your background, we're open to all faiths. This is a place, a safe space for us to share, learn from each other. Please be respectful. If you haven't already joined some of our social media platforms where you could find additional information, the resources, as well as see some of the past clips from some of the other meets that we've had. So I would love to introduce the lovely Michelle Petrovani. I've had the pleasure of knowing through a lot of the work I've been doing with the CF Foundation and then getting to know her personally, her and her sons. And I'm not going to, you know, say for her because she's a full package and I want her to tell you all about it. Yes, yes, you are. So, Michelle, please take it away.
So thank you, Annette. Thank you for welcoming me, and thank you everyone for being here. Give me a few seconds just to get this document shared. Let's put it in presentation mode. Oh, wait a minute. 1 second. Actually, let me share first and then go to presentation mode.
Do you have audio in your presentation?
No audio, just
Okay.
I'll talk. And let me take this off. Okay, great. So thank you again, everyone, and welcome, Faith and Friendship. What are we talking about today? Today, I'd like to talk to you about when to heal and how to cure, becoming curators of peace in life and living. Now, I want you to take a moment, if you didn't hear before, and you can grab a pencil or a pen and a piece of paper, just in case you want to jot anything down. If not, that's okay, and we will move on. So who am I? Annette already said it. I'm a mom to 2 sons. They are my greatest gifts in life, my greatest treasures, my greatest teachers, my greatest challengers. And I'm also an educator. I struggled in terms of what to present to you today. And I just want to start with this. So I had a little bit of success this morning, and I went outside. It was 27 degrees. I did 3 miles in the cold. And for the last 1.5 miles, I was able to run. And I ran home in 15 minutes. Now, that might not sound like a feat to you, but to me it is, because a year ago, December, I could barely cross the street. If I tried to cross the street, I would be breathless at the end. I would have to hold on to a wall or grab a bench or something to sit because I would be near collapse. The illness itself doesn't really matter, but what mattered is that I was ill, severely ill, and I was scared. So as I change this slide, I want to ask you guys, most of us know the Serenity Prayer. And I want us just to read that Serenity Prayer. You could do it on your own or you could do it with me. But you will notice that I put God/blank because not everyone who's watching this might believe in God, right? So whatever it is that you believe in, whether it's the power of the universe, the power of self, maybe you are more of a stoic oriented type of person, substitute whatever it is that you believe in, and let's read this together. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So who am I? I already told you that I am a mom and an educator, and you can see by these photos who I really am. I love the outdoors, I love nature, and I did even as a child. Nature was important to me as a child, and I didn't understand the weight of it until I got older. But I was always outside, always climbing trees, always running to the beach. I almost drowned when I was 3 years old because I just ran out into the water in the ocean and the waves took me. Thank God I had orange hair then, and my dad was able to see orange hair, grab the orange hair and pull me back. But why was nature so important to me? Nature was important to me because I knew pain and suffering and loneliness and sickness in my childhood home. I knew periods of abuse. I knew pain, suffering, loneliness in my years as an undocumented alien here in the States. I knew those pains and suffering through assault, through marriage, a difficult one, through parenting sons with undiagnosed genetic incurable progressive illness that took 18 years to get a diagnosis. And I knew pain and suffering through a motor vehicle accident that left me with multiple herniated and bulging discs and a damaged shoulder and permanent nerve damage. So when I look at myself, that's who I am. All of those things are part of who I am today. But what my circumstances taught me was discomfort is the pathway to deliverance, or the obstruction is the opportunity for overcoming. Or as the Roman Stoic Seneca teaches, the obstacle is the way. So here I'd like us to talk about when to heal. I want you to think about the self-care practices that you use for yourself. And each of us has different ones, right? So some of us, it might be reading, it might be meditation, might be prayer, might be taking those ice cold showers every day. It might be like my friend I was saying earlier who goes to the sauna every day. Whatever it is that you do that's healing to you. Now, there's an amazing book, Discipline is Destiny, by Ryan Holiday. And in that book, he presents the idea HALT, H-A-L-T, hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. I changed his HALT for myself to heal. And so I want to say when to heal. So heal, this idea of heal, it's both proactive and it's reactive. The proactive part is all of those things that I just mentioned that we do or that we know strengthens us, ministers to us, and empowers us, gives us peace. But we also need to notice, when are we hungry? We need to become so in tune with ourselves, with our bodies, that we notice right away, when are we hungry? E, when are we exhausted? A, when are we feeling angry? And in anger, it could be disappointment, right? And when are we lonely? Why? Because when we experience those things, we are already at a deficit to deal with the heavier things in life, the chronic illness, the injury, the difficult situations at work or in life or at home, the traffic on the roads when we're traveling, the demands of our family members. And especially if we have a chronic illness or if we're a caregiver to others with chronic illnesses, we are already at a deficit in that we are more exhausted. And we need to figure out how in 24 hours of the day to find time to heal, to self-care, to read, to meditate, to sing, to walk, to dance, to do whatever it is that strengthens us. For me, I wake up at 3:30 a.m. every day, and I'm not saying that to boast. People look at me like, are you okay? Why would you do that? But I wake up at 3:30 a.m. every day because I have a morning routine. And if I don't get my morning routine, I'm not okay. My morning routine consists of reading, writing, meditating, exercising. I need my strength and my cardio. I also need to go to bed early. So 7:30, I'm in bed. Why? Because I need to wake up at 3:30 in the morning. So I have to discipline myself. It has to be a daily practice. And the question is, what is your practice, or what are your practices that help you to heal proactively? So those things I just mentioned are the proactive parts. But then when we notice when we're hungry, exhausted, angry, lonely, we can then address those things, not necessarily in a reactive way, but in response to those things. And we respond to them as immediately as possible. So I chose these photos too, because The blue bottle on the beach, you know, standing alone. The leaf, it's fall season and this leaf fell. Thankfully, there was some phragmites in the park that caught the leaf and gave it some shelter or some comfort, held it up for a while. But it's a season of transition, and this leaf was dying, you know. The statue I did not take a photo of, but it is a statue that I hope one day I get to go see. And it's called Melancholy. And it's by the sculptor Albert Gajorki. I hope I'm saying his name correctly. It's made out of copper and tin, and it's in Geneva, Switzerland. And he created that statue to reflect how he felt immeasurable loss after he lost his wife. And these are the things that we experience every day. So we need to heal. But how do we heal? We get different messages from many different places. So in Judaism and Christianity, we hear that God says, I'm eternal. I am the healer. And we put our faith in God. And we trust that if we pray to him and we call out to him, he will heal. He will deliver, he will save, he will restore, he will revive. In Buddhism, it is said that for long-lasting healing to take place, we cannot only heal the existing disease with medications and treatments, but we also need to look at the root of the disease. And the root of all disease in Buddhism comes from the mind, or initiates from the mind. They have an eightfold practice to healing, an eightfold path rather that leads to healing. And in that path are the following: right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Now, 3 of those things in their eightfold practice have to do with the mind. And then there's action. There's also speech, which is action. There's livelihood, which is action. Effort, which is action. But if we don't take control of the mind first, how can we then have action? In Hinduism, illness and suffering are accepted as part of life. And their scripture promotes healing from within. The focus in Hinduism is the inner self and living in equanimity, which is mental calmness, composure, evenness of temper, especially in difficult situations. And we know when we are chronically ill, when we are stressed, when we are injured, when we are tired, when we are hungry, it is easier, bad English, let me correct myself. It is easier to react and not be calm, right? Not have composure, to lose our temper. Hinduism also says, and I had to practice this, equipoise. And equipoise is mental balance, a mentally steady state or an equilibrium. An atheist might say, look, I take pride in myself and my own strength, and I choose what I can conquer, what I can do. Or he or she might say, I practice stoicism. And the Stoics argue that external events like illness, suffering, injury, and death, those things are out of our control. Instead, we have to choose to be present with what we have. So mindfulness again, be present with what we have, accept what we have, accept what's in our control, accept what is out of control. And sometimes even to live is an act of courage. So how do we cure? So I'm not talking about cure that will eradicate the illness or remove the injury or just restore everything to wholeness, because that is the stuff that's beyond our control. Rather, I want to think about cure, C, control what you can. When we get a diagnosis, we have an injury, we have a bad day, things are just going wrong, and it could be multiple things simultaneously. We need to think about what can we control. And just like we said in Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, Judaism, we have to have faith in something, and we choose something. And ultimately, we go back to our mind. So even in Christianity and Judaism, we're putting our faith in God, but we still mentally have to choose to put our faith in our God and pray to our God for him to deliver, for him to save, for him to heal. So we can only control that one thing. And let's say we had a tsunami, tornado, cyclone, earthquake, what else? Wildfire, all of those things happening at the same time. What are we going to do? If we complain, if we cry, if we lament, and those things are human and natural, and they are absolutely okay for us to do. But if we do that and we get stuck there, the thing still remains unchanged. And at some point, we still have to get out of that state to then address whatever that thing is, whatever that illness is, whatever that injury is. You understand self and mind. We need to understand our needs, just like we talked about in HEAL. So the physical, the mental, the emotional, and we need to address those as best as we can. But we need to recognize that our minds, the human mind, has a tendency to go towards the negative unless we train it to go towards the positive. Brené Brown in her books, I love her books because she's always talking about that, right? And about overcoming, and about courage, and about facing our fear. But it starts here. The scriptures tell us, in this world we will have tribulation, but take heart, I have overcome the world. The Stoics will tell us, many times we suffer more in our mind than in reality ourselves. So reality itself. So if we get so consumed by the problem, by the thing that we can't change, we're actually making that thing harder, bigger, more difficult, colder. We are increasing our own fear. R, reflect, reframe, reclaim, restore. I probably had like about 12 R words, so I had to shorten it to 4 for you guys. But what does that mean? That points us back to our mind. And our mind controls our emotions, right? It's a constant struggle between the two, but we need this to control this. And E, embrace all things. So I want to ask you to do an exercise with me. You do not have to turn your cameras on, but I'm going to ask you to do it with me anyway. I'm going to take a sip. And this exercise is something I like to do, or at least visualize in my brain. So in this exercise, embrace, think about just opening your arms wide and making them light and loose, like cooked spaghetti almost, right? So here they are, your arms are open wide. And I want you to think right in front of you is the person you love the most, or the place you love the most, or the food you love the most, or whatever it is that you just can't do without, and it's the most passionate thing in your life. And I want you to start embracing. So bring your arms in, bring them in, and draw that person or thing or place or memory or experience to you. You are embracing that thing that you love, and you're holding it in your heart, right? But when we get to an embrace, we don't stay in an embrace forever. We can't go to work like this. We can't take care of the baby like this. We can't drive the car like this. So we have to let go. So now I'm going to ask you to open up. Now you could let your hands fall. We're going to do it one more time. And this time, I want you to think about the most difficult thing in your life. It could be that illness. It could be that difficult relationship. It could be that job. It could just be stress. It could be sad, right? Seasonal affective disorder that many of us experience when the weather gets cold and the days get long and stay dark, right? Whatever that yucky, difficult, heavy thing is, I want you to imagine that thing is now in front of you, or that person, or that illness, or that injury is in front of you. And I want you to open your arms again the same way. And you keep those arms loose. You keep them loose. And it's really hard to do, right? But now I need you to embrace that thing. Just embrace it. Just embrace it, because it's not going anywhere. It's yours. And I want you to draw that thing into you. It's yours, so you're going to accept it through the embrace. And like we said before, at the same time you embrace, you let go. So now you're letting it go. And it may seem really tough and really hard, and I'm sorry if I'm putting you through that, but when we do that exercise, especially with that heavy, difficult, all-consuming, mentally pressuring thing, we own it. And once we own it, it loses its power to hold us captive. It loses its power to drown us. Now, I'm not saying it's an overnight thing, and I'm not saying it's a one-time thing. It's a thing that you have to do day in, day out, day in, day out. And you may not be able to do it physically like this, but at least mentally, you can be present in the moment like the Stoics advise, and you could just embrace that thing and let it go simultaneously. It's like you're stepping into it and you're stepping behind it at the same time. But then your mind is clearer about how can you deal with it, what healing actions you need to put in, what curing steps you need to take. And so with that idea of cure, I like to think of myself as a curator of peace in life and living. And it is a message that I try to share with others. So when you think of a curator, you think of a keeper or a custodian in a museum, or in a museum, let's say, and they're in charge of selecting the art that they're going to display, where they're going to get it from, shipping it and making sure that it arrives, getting the insurance, the millions and millions of dollars insurance, what room are they going to display it in? Is it going to be on a wall, near a window, in the light, in a case, on a stand? And they have to set it up in a particular way to make it more appealing for those who would come to see it. Now, the word curate comes from the Latin word curatus, which means to take care of, right? And a curate is also a priest of a lower rank in the Church of England. And the job of the curate was, or is, to help the priest in charge, or the vicar, in the business of curing the souls of the congregants. So this idea of curator has that cure in it. And it doesn't just have cure as in helping self, but it's helping others. And so I like to think of curator. We've already gone through C, control what you can and release everything else. Understand yourself and your mind, you. We've already gone through reflect, reframe, reclaim, restore. And for reflect, reframe, reclaim, and restore, that's where your reading practices and your meditation practices and your prayer practices, your journal practices would come into play a lot, because you're just washing your mind over and over again with what you need for your brain to be healthy, because your brain will feed the rest of your body and your spirit. Now, A, we sort of did that under E, it means accept. So our exercise with embracing is the accepting, and it's the letting go simultaneously. T, incurator means time, because it doesn't happen overnight and it doesn't happen just with one try. It is, I'm not going to lie to you, exhausting work if you try to do this day in, day out, day in, day out. And I am not a pro. I am a practitioner getting better at it, hopefully every day. The O in curator is the outcome, the overcoming, because even if that illness or that injury or that situation remains unchanged, we can overcome, because in here we have peace. In here, we're okay. In here, in our minds, we have accepted that thing that we have no control over, and instead, we are taking control of the only thing we can control, which is ourselves. And the R in curator for me is repeat and remind relentlessly. Clearly, I like repetition, right? So the R's in reflect, reframe, reclaim, restore, and the R's here again. Again, like I've explained, we have to just keep doing this all the time. Now, I just want to pause for a minute. The 3 photos that you see here, the one at the bottom is this bird with one leg. And the day that I was walking on that beach, it was really, really cold. And I saw this bird, and then I was like, I wonder how many other birds only have one leg, and how do they manage when they're on the ground? And this bird just stood up on its one leg, and it hopped and hopped and hopped when it was ready to fly, and it flew off. But then I saw multiple birds on the beach with this one leg. And then you wonder, well, what happened to them? What injury, what illness, what were they born this way? But this is their life, and they can't make that leg grow. They can't make it come back, but they still have to live. And so they have to take control of what they can control. They have to hop on the beach, on the land, and then at least then they can fly. The bridge, I love the blue color. It's just so peaceful. It speaks to my spirit. And it simply leads across Sheepshead Bay in Sheepshead, Brooklyn. But whenever I see this bridge, I think of the path that we all have to travel with our difficulties and how we can get to the other side. And then the third picture with the box, the smiling box, I was just surprised one day again walking on the beach, and I saw this box on the mound, and it looked like this box, this wooden inanimate object, was smiling at the sunrise, and I just had to capture it. Clearly, photography helps me with my peaceful practices. And so I want to end by just sharing this with you. The chief task in life is simply this: to identify and separate matters so that we can say clearly to ourselves which things are external and not under our control, and which have to do with the choices we actually have control over. When then do we look for good and evil, not to uncontrollable externals, but within ourselves to the choices that are our own? Epictetus. So I am going to stop sharing here and invite you all to just, let's talk. If you have any questions, if you have any ideas, go ahead and let's share.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna let anyone who wants to jump in go first.
Try not to monopolize. I have a ton of questions for you because you touched on two of my favorite philosophies, with Stoicism and Buddhism. I wanted to ask you personally what attracts you to these philosophies, because they outside most American common understanding
Mhm.
of theories of life, because in America we are bombarded by Christianity, right? But
Yeah.
you personally, what attracted you to Stoicism and Buddhism?
Ah, the power to really just have that control over me and to literally curate my own peace, hence the title even of this talk. So I grew up in a Christian household. I actually thought I was going to become a nun because I went to convent until I was 18 and I was taught by nuns and priests. I've read the Bible many times back and forth, through and through. But even as a child, and I might say something here that's a little oppositional, but in reading the Bible as a child, I never saw anywhere where it said, pray to Mary. And so whenever we had confession at school, and I would go to confession, and the priest would say, you're forgiven, say 3 Hail Marys and 5 Our Fathers, I would go kneel down and I would say 8 Our Fathers. I would substitute 3 Our Fathers for the Hail Marys because I was reading this Bible and I was supposed to learn from this Bible. Now, I might have been wrong, but that's what I did as a child. And in my life, the things that I mentioned that I went through, and of course, I didn't go into any details, all of those things were so difficult and could really have derailed my existence. I could have lost hope. I could have given up. I know what it is to struggle with depression. And so even though I prayed a lot, even though I loved my faith and my hymns and my songs, and even though I believed then and still believe now in God, I also believe that God gives us the power, the ability to choose. And so if I have that choice, then when I read Buddhism and when I read Stoicism, everything there brings it back to me and allows me to cultivate peace. So I use my Christianity and Stoicism and Buddhism together. I hope I answered your question, Daniel.
Yes, yes, you did.
Does anyone else have a question for me?
How do you curate your peace when you're having challenges that are not directly yours, but involve you?
Can you give me an example, Annette? A challenge that you mean like, let's say with my kids or,
Yeah. Yeah. Kids, work.
yeah, okay. So all challenges are difficult. For me, it means looking at that heal and that cure and holding those two things firmly. It's almost like I hang them on my ears like earrings, or I put them on a necklace and it's here and it's hanging at my heart. But I need to practice that even more. And if I'm too exhausted, and I don't give myself time to recover, then it's harder for me to implement that. But when I'm experiencing those things, I have to dive deeper into self-care, into self-therapy. I have to say to myself, well, where can I pull back? What can I not do now so that I could minister to myself? It's like the same way if something is super wrong, I have to go to the doctor and the doctor says, here are some antibiotics, here's some this, I want you to on this regimen for however long. I have to change my regimen and make it more intentional for myself. Otherwise, I start to crumble. And I will tell you, in 2014, after the boys were finally diagnosed, and then 3 months later, I had my car accident. Healing and curing, all of it failed. because I was so overwhelmed and so burdened and so worn out that it failed. But I eventually had to pull back from everything and give myself an extended period of time to heal. And I know that that is impossible often, right? It's not like, oh, we could just stop. Oh, family, go ahead, do whatever you got to do. Job, just wait for me. I'll come back. It's not like that, but maybe it's in 5 minutes a day. Maybe it's in putting a post-it note with those messages in places where I can see them every day. It means putting a note in my lunchbox. So once I open my lunchbox, I could remind myself with the thing that I need to feed my mind and my spirit before I even eat my meal. It means that I have to make a choice that, look, I have too much work to do and I'm tired and I'm behind, but I'm going to leave the work aside and I'm just going to have my lunch and I'm not even looking at work. Because often, even today, I work through lunch so I could bring less work home. But I have to just become more rigid with those practices in those times. And I have to tell myself it's going to be okay. There's one more part of it too, and I did not really address this in the presentation, but who are your core people? Right? So Daniel said before, he talked right before we started about making that phone call, picking up that phone and making a call. And it's something I struggle with. It's hard for me to pick up that phone and make a call because I am such an introvert, if you could believe it, that I need a lot of time by myself. But there are times like that, and I could feel it in my veins and my arteries, and I know I must pick up the phone. So I have about 4 people only that I have 4 people in my core. They've known me 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever the case may be. And I know I can call them. But what happens when they don't answer the phone? So sometimes I have to reach out and I have to give myself a date with someone who will just listen. But I also have to have wisdom when I make those phone calls. Who am I calling? And would they be there for me? Are they able to sit and hold space with me? Are they able to be other-centered and receive what I have to say and maybe not give me any advice, but just hear me out? Because sometimes all we need is companionship. Just like that embrace exercise, we just need somebody to give us a hug.
Thank you. Gloria, you had a comment or question?
I swear I've never been diagnosed with ADHD, but my brain, because I was listening to so many things, I really got I lost my train of thought. But I do want to say something about the different religions, right? I grew up also as a Christian. And as I got older, I became an avid reader. And I read a book about Buddhism. And I started to call myself a Buddhist Christian. That's what I called myself, a Buddhist Christian. And currently, I call myself a recovering Christian for so many reasons. And I wanted to, my thoughts are a little scattered right now, but it was the part about heal, HEAL. And you
Yes.
were talking about it, you changed it from the halt to the
Yes.
heal. And I did want to say that I wanted to say that when I am tired or things are going on currently in my life with my health, right? I'm dealing with some health issues and I'm tired and I'm stressed and I'm all of these things. And when I go to relax or rest in my faith and beliefs, I don't know how to say this, I don't know how to make it right, but because I'm struggling with my faith and my beliefs, it makes it hard to heal because it was like I was given a promise and I can't see it. Like I was told that if you ask for something, you shall receive it. Well, I asked you for rest and then I don't get the rest or the kind of rest I'm sick. I don't feel well in my body. Like, that's not the rest I was looking for. I'm stuck in this bed, but that was not what I meant. That's not what I meant. But it made me really think about my readings that I did on Buddhism. So, we're suffering is inevitable. We are all going to suffer, right? It's a part of life. So I guess my question, as I twisted all around in that circle, but my question would be, how do you guys deal with healing when you have questions about your faith and all the things we've learned, all the indoctrinations that we've learned, and it's not matching up? Like, how do you heal when your faith or your faith in the system that you once believed in is kind of broken? Like, where do you go from there?
That is a super profound question, and I do not have a clear answer for you. I can tell you, Gloria, that I've had times in my life where my faith was broken, badly broken, where, like you said, you're a recovering Christian. I've had people say to me, "You're a backslidden Christian. You're not really a Christian." I've had people say to me, even in a church, say to me, order me not to talk to anybody. And for me, we never have all the answers, right? And I think that that's where the faith comes in. And look, you said it, right? How do you deal with healing when you're questioning your faith? And now here I'm answering you and I'm including faith, right? Like, suffering is inevitable, like you said, it's going to happen. But we also know, just like that element T of time, nothing happens overnight. And so even if we pray for something, it could take a year, it could take 10 years, 50 years. Sometimes our prayers don't get answered the way we want them to be answered. Sometimes the very people in our faiths are the ones who hurt us because they're human like us and they're fallible, right? They will make mistakes. So for me, it's a thing of enduring and just knowing that nothing lasts forever. When I got super ill last year, I literally lost physical ability, mental ability, and all emotional control. I knew a depression that I understood what it was like to be on the edge of, I am not going to live anymore. 3 or 4 doctors said to me, you could have died. I couldn't go to work. I couldn't sweep. I couldn't dust. I couldn't cook. I couldn't change the sheets on my bed. It took too much strength and I didn't have any. I couldn't cross a street. And so I just had to keep telling myself, so it's time. It's just time. And I just had to endure it. And I had to keep feeding my brain as much as my brain could take and as much as my heart could take, and just know that this wasn't going to last forever. But I don't know if I can share this with, I don't know if this is going, the next thing I'm going to say is going to help at all. And I hope I'm not off track with answering the question. There is this expression, this too shall pass. Years ago, I changed that to, just like I changed halt to heal, I changed this too shall pass to this is passing even now. Because this is passing is present continuous tense. And when it's present continuous tense, it's just like that exercise of embrace that we did. Because every single second that goes by, I am one step closer to overcoming, one step closer to the outcome, one step beyond whatever the thing is. And so that's what I tend to say to myself.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I hope that helped, Gloria. There is no real answer for that. Sometimes it is just a long struggle. I see Daniel's hand is up.
Yeah, I wanted to speak a little to what Gloria said about healing as you reconstructing your faith.
Yeah.
I went through that a little bit after my divorce, and what I had to do personally, there's a lot of things that were taught to me in Christianity, personally, I had to let go of. I had to give up because those things were actually trying to drown me. They were trying to kill me, right?
Mm,
And and I realized my life matter than what some ideas people thought as to what Christianity is, because there's a lot of things we're taught in Bible school and church that does not match what Christianity is. If you go deep, 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 deep in the tradition and the history and how Jesus himself lived, because we are supposed to live like him, we are supposed to imitate him. He is the original, right? He is the prototype of what Christianity. And it was not a life of these rules and regulations. It was a life of love and friendship and just seeking the honesty and communion with God, right? It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be in pain. It's okay. It's okay to just go. And the word faith, I think, is another word. Because I'm an ESL student, I will be an ESL student for life. If people don't know what ESL mean, it's just English as a second language because I'm trilingual. Um, I like learning words by also learning the antonym to that word, right? The antonym to the word faith is doubt, right? And not having doubt does not mean you have more faith. Actuality, the more doubt you have, that means you are questioning your faith.
yeah.
It is having blind faith is not healthy. If you again, if you take the time to read the Bible where the prophet themselves had doubt, right? They were trying to run away from God. They would do the opposite of what God told them. Because to have doubt is to be human, right? Because faith is it's not, it's not about believing without evidence. Faith is believing when the evidence is not there yet, right? Because waking up in the morning is like a faith, right? You don't know what the day gonna bring you. It's a brand new day. You could get into a wreck on your day to work. You could get fired when you show up, but you are taking it as an act of faith to get out of bed, shower, brush your teeth, do the basic thing, and go into this world. That is an act of faith. So when people tell me they like faith, I was like, the fact you get up every morning, tell me you got faith because you're going into a brand new world that you did not create. You just got born into it, and every day is a blessing, right? And that's the act of faith where you are living in faith just to live life, right?
Yeah.
And to have that is okay. So as I went through reconstructing my faith, my religion, the practice of my life theory, there's some things it's okay to give up because they will join you, they will kill you, and you have to reconstruct what those things you were taught, what they really mean, right? And how to be in communion with your creator, whatever that look like. And that's okay. A lot of time it's get rid of those garbage, get rid of that the past, and rebuild to be able to step into your own faith, your future, the way you see it. That's gonna bring you prosperity, nourishment, and help you grow. The question that I had for our precious presenter is on the heal, right? And
Yes.
you talk about how when you heal hunger, I forgot what E was saying for. Where it's when you it's recognizing, right? It's the practice of recognizing.
Yes.
Recognizing the healing is not the fact that you don't have anything wrong, but recognizing when you need it, right? Recognizing your hunger, recognizing when you exhausted, recognize your emotional state, right? How has that helped you to be more in tune and aware of these mental state of yours to help you to the next phase of creating your own feelings.
I gotcha. So first, thank you for all that you said before, and I might want to cycle back to it because it was just beautiful. I mean, I jotted everything down because I want to remember and digest it later. But for heal, how does that help me? Because it means that, remember when I said heal, it's recognizing these things, but this is like the reactive or the responsive part. But there's another part of heal, which is the proactive part. And the proactive part of heal is giving yourself all the self-care measures, self-love treatment that you need, and just being proactive with that, making it part of your daily practice. But because life bombards us, because there are issues on the job, with the family, with the spouse, with our health, with everything, we have to just be really in tune. And when we're in tune, we can, it's like a check mark. We say, aha, this is going on. And I know that if I'm hungry, I am compromised because everything else that I need to do, every decision I need to make, every interaction I have, I am already subpar. I'm not going to be at my best to receive that or interact with that or respond to that person because I'm operating from this place of need. Exhausted, angry, lonely. So once I notice those things, there's also the proactive part of it. So let's say on a day at work, I walk around with, I have 2 bottles. One is water and one is a protein shake. And sometimes because I exercise extra in the morning, I am, and even though I had breakfast, I'm famished at 9 o'clock. Well, then I need to sip some protein shake because if I don't take care of that, when the kids yell and they scream and they curse and they behave badly in the classroom because I am a teacher, I may respond to them in a way I don't even want to respond to them. And I don't want to affect them negatively. I want to be a role model to them. I want to show that I have control of my emotions, that I have decorum, etc. And so it's something simple as that, or it might be maybe both my boys are in the hospital and they're in different hospitals and I am worn out. Well, years ago, I would feel really, really guilty about taking time off from work. So I might run to the hospital in the morning before work and after work, and then I would still run to work and I would try to do my job, but that means I didn't sleep or I slept on the floor or I didn't get a shower, I didn't eat right. Now I know how to say I can't come to work and I can have peace. But that came over years of practicing so that now I'm okay with 1, putting myself first, so that 2, I can then minister to others or interact with others in the way that I feel would be beneficial to all of us. And I want to, if you don't mind, so Daniel, if I answered your question, I want to go back to something you said before.
Okay.
Awesome. You talked about, you mentioned getting rid of garbage. And right before you said getting rid of garbage, guess what I wrote down on my sheet?
What did
Get
you
rid of
do?
garbage. Because some weeks ago, I read the story of Thomas Edison, who had huge factory or factories, maybe it was just multiple buildings. And back then it was valued at maybe about $1 million. In today's day, it would be like $23 million. But one day after he left work and he went home, somebody ran from the factory to tell him the factory is on fire. So he runs back and he calls his family and he calls his son. And what he says when all of everything is burning down, he's like happy and peaceful. And he goes, when in your lifetime are you going to see a sight like this? This is like magical, the fire. thank God, like, I don't know about anybody getting hurt, and I don't think anybody was, but it was just the majesty, the power, the strength, the beauty of this fire. But the very next thing that he said was this: the fire is just getting rid of all the garbage. Now we can start over and we can start fresh. And I was blown away. Here was Thomas Edison losing everything of value to him. All of his inventions that are in the works, all of his, what is that word for? I can't remember. There's a word for those new inventions that maybe you didn't copyright yet or whatever. He's losing everything, including the buildings. And he's like, it's okay. The fire's just getting rid of the garbage. And we get to start over again. And what joy. And I took that lesson to mean, like, what am I doing when I have a disruption or a pain or a hurt or some new thing comes and upsets me or something is taken away from me that I don't really want to lose? Am I just going to let it go and say, okay, I can start over and it's okay. I'm still alive. I'm still breathing. I'm still living. I'm still here. So I thought that
I'm trying so hard not to monopolize this conversation with you, Michelle. I like the way you think. I'm gonna have to reach out after this because what that example you just, because in Buddhism, there's a practice of attachment, right? What causes suffering is desires and attachment, right? And
yeah.
what you described right there, because we have this desire to want things not to change, right? And we know the only thing that we know in the universe, right? That
Mhm.
is constant. It's change, right? Change has to happen. You yourself, you went to change. You went from this little combination of cells, right, into the grown person. If it wasn't for change, you would not be you, right? Change is
Exactly.
necessary, but we get attached to ideas and things, and to build a practice where you see things as change being necessary and to welcome it. But also, the next part of that lesson is don't see bad things happening as an obstacle, right? As a loss, but see it as an opportunity and a win, right? And as a new day, right? To have growth sometimes you need a fire, right? You need to burn down the forest for the new tree to grow, for that new plant to have life, because sometimes what's on top of you is too much. It has to burn away for you to really grow. And that is, I struggle with that myself, letting go, right? Not being attached to terrible things, terrible people, right? Awful people we know should not have around, but we keep them because we're so afraid to not be without them, right? Where we rather suffer because it's like a man coming out of prison, right? Who rather go back to prison because he knows what prison is than face this life, right? He rather be in prison in misery than face life because that's more scarier, and that's a hard thing to accept. And I like the way you said it, Michelle. Thank you for that.
You're welcome, and thank you for that, Daniel. And when you spoke the other day, I still, even in preparing for this, I went back and I looked through my notes of when you spoke, right? Because I was like, as you were speaking, I'm like, wait a minute, he's speaking my language. So I understand. I really do. I'm glad that it resonates with you.
Del, I want to ask if you would share um, lids and any other projects that you
Oh.
have.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Annette, for remembering that. So I don't have my own website. I am, though, well, I'm going to tell you about two things. One is LIDS that Annette just said, and LIDS means living with irrevocable differences. Irrevocable, all those permanent things, the things we can't change, the illness, the injury, the trauma, the experiences that they've just changed our life in some way, and those things will try to devour us, just eat us up and tear us up. And so on Substack, Anybody who's interested can just look for my name on Substack, or I could share it in the chat, perhaps, the link. I have a newsletter I publish occasionally about this specific topic, living with irrevocable differences. I also started interviewing people, and I'm working on building a podcast or making it greater. I also started a photography challenge, a peaceful photography challenge. So all of the photos that you saw, other than the statue, are photos that I took. It's with an iPhone 11. It's an old phone, barely working, likes to overheat. But photography is part of my practice because, just like that embrace, when we take a photograph and we capture a moment, we're then able to look at that and really dissect it, the value of it, the meaning of it, the messages in it. And how do those things then wash our minds and set us on the path that we need to be, keep us going forward? So anybody who's interested, you can find me on Substack. You don't have to pay for a membership. The photography challenge will always be free. And whenever I post, you'll get an email. And if you want, you click on the link and you listen, or you read the post and the message. You can find me on LinkedIn under my name as well. On X, on Twitter, I'm under Abundant Breath. But my main thing is just writing and developing this podcast. And just back to this whole Lids life. So when we have these irrevocable differences, do we let those things put a lid on living, right? So here's a cup. I can have a cover and I put a lid on it, and that's it. Whatever is in that cup is trapped unless I remove the lid. So how do we remove the lid, right, from these things, and how do we overcome, and how do we live a happy, overcoming type of life despite the things that beset us? And that's it. Thank you, Annette.
Absolutely, you're welcome. Just want to respect everyone's time. If anyone has any additional comments or questions, the floor is yours.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Lisa.
I just wanted to say I appreciate all you guys sharing, and the teaching and even the pictures. The pictures was a blessing. I mean, I'm a Christian myself, and I know how it is to to go to God on some things, with all the years of being on dialysis and having 6 siblings on there as well, and having kidney disease, polycystic. But you live to fight another day. But I thank you for the tools that were shared. And I thank you for everybody being open and transparent. You don't always get that. That makes you feel, better and makes you feel normal. You're not the only one, and it's just a wonderful thing. And thank you for having me on it. I'm sorry for my tardiness. I was in the street the whole time. I never thought my phone would would put it on, but it did. So I was like, hey. So thank you once again. I'm sorry about your time as well. Appreciate it.
Oh, Lisa, we appreciate you being here and just even for sharing that. And I think you said, not I think, I know you said something really, really critical, that transparency, right? We need to have people that we can be vulnerable with and we can be safe with, because that gives us strength. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, guys. If you see in the chat, she shared the link for Living with Irrevocable Differences. You can copy that chat or save that chat. Just gonna make sure this is clickable. Yes. Perfect. It also connects to all your social media, I see, through the link. So you'll be able to reach out to Michelle. Second. And for those who missed it, I will be sharing the edited version on our Facebook page. It's also going to be clips on the YouTube page. If you have additional questions, you can reach out on those platforms as well to Michelle. If you have any questions for the Faith and Friendship group, you, of course, by now have gotten the emails. I'm going to be sending surveys to get some feedback on how you guys are, responding to the last couple of sessions we've had and rounding out 2024, going into 2025, because we are definitely going to keep this train moving and supporting each other. I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. I truly appreciate it. I'm hoping that whatever you celebrate, you have a wonderful holiday. I know it's hard this time of year for some, and even if it's just because you're cold, find that warm place, that trusting place. And I'm hoping to see everyone again in 2025 when we'll be kicking off for January. If you have any comments or anything you would like to see on this platform or suggestions for facilitators, again, please reach out to the Faith and Friendship Gmail page. Michelle, any other words before I end?
I would like to echo everything you said, Annette. I'm just wishing everyone light and life and well-being and lifted spirits and cold showers or cold walks or the saunas or whatever it is you need to do for you, that you could find a way to steal 5 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever it is, because sometimes we can't find hours. But maybe we could get 2. And if we get 2 today, maybe in a week or 2, we'll find a way to make it 3. And maybe in a couple of weeks, we'll find a way to make it 10. Like, we just keep building, and we keep building because we are all overcomers. It is a joy to be here, to be part of this group. So happy holidays, happy new year, and I'll see you guys in 2025.
Thank you. Have a wonderful night, everybody.
Good night.